Hi, Christy and Lily. Welcome to the overview of your website for calvertcommercial.com. In this overview, we're going to talk about the overall operation of the site as well as some of the technical underpinnings of the site that are important to search engines and rankings. Now, I know that you guys are wanting a new site, but the review is obviously on your current site, but what this allows us to do is what we're going to look at are the same things that we would incorporate into a new site for you. Okay, the first element, there's nothing here for me to show you, but the website, your current website runs on HTML4, which is nothing wrong. That's just the technical coding standard that was used at the time. Nothing wrong with that, but there is the newer HTML5 out, which is what basically any new site that you would have now would have or would implement, and that does allow new features that previously HTML4 could not handle. So there's nothing for me to show you on that, but just know that any new sites that you have would probably implement HTML5 coding, just so they can incorporate more advanced features than what HTML4 allows. Alright, and then the next element we'll talk about here is site speed. And as you probably noticed, these are the technical elements first. We'll talk about the site look, feel, and operation once we've covered a few of these different technical underpinnings first. So next up is site speed. Now this is actually something I can show you. Okay, so we'll go over to our site speed check here. We'll click start. So basically what's happening now is it's having a server test the website speed and how fast the site loads and how fast each of the different kinds of elements loads. And then so it's generated a number here. So the load time was 388 milliseconds, which is under half a second, which is excellent. Google deems anything under 2 seconds right now as a good number, but obviously half a second is fantastic. So that's great. There's not much to do with here because this is all going to change when you get a new site anyway. But it is something important. So we do want to just keep that in the back of our minds that site speed is important to Google, and it's important to visitors because if it takes too long for pages to load, they click off and go elsewhere. And it should also be noted too that any new site that you get might take a little bit longer to load. The newer sites that use WordPress or use content management systems in general might take a little bit longer, maybe closer to a second or somewhere between 500 milliseconds and a second. But like I said, as long as we're staying under 2 seconds, we should be good. And if for the off chance that your site actually was a site that was taking, a longer time to load, we could actually see which elements of the website are causing, the particular speed issues, for instance. So like looking here, these are the files that are getting loaded with the site. It's telling us just the initial connect and wait time for DNS of the site is about 0.3 seconds, and then everything kind of pops in here. So looking great, nothing else to spend more time on with this now. But like I said, about 2 seconds or under is the number that we really want to keep any new websites to. Okay, so the next important thing is mobile friendliness. So we'll go look at your site and see how, this tool is actually directly from Google. They make this available to everybody to see how well their site is mobile friendly or not. So we'll click Analyze here. It pulls in the site and is testing it right now, analyzing it. And we already know that your site is not mobile friendly, and I think you already were well aware of that. So just to show you that this will tell us this. So this is how Google sees your site. Google has made it very clear that they want your site to be mobile friendly. They've actually have already came out and said that the indexes for the index that Google maintains, they have a mobile friendly version of that, and they're going to be making that the primary index. So it's very crucial that your site is mobile friendly. So the things that make a mobile friendly site are the text needs to be, a good legible size when you're on the phone. They've simulated a phone here, so you can't even hardly see the site because it is so small. The site's not adjusting itself to the particular screen size. So that's very important. Another thing with that, the links are too close together, and this is just the fact of that your site's not changing itself for the different screen sizes, because that would make the buttons bigger for people to actually click on. Yeah, your content is wider than the screen, and the viewport's not set. So when we do a new website, though, these are the kinds of things we look at, and we make sure that the website is mobile friendly, that the content, does rearrange itself as necessary to fit those mobile devices. Because overall, there is a lot of your traffic actually is coming from mobile. It could be as high as 50% or more. If you have analytics from your site, we could certainly check those out and actually be able to tell you exactly how many people are trying to view your site via mobile. And if you do have analytics, that's also important later when we get down to looking at your goals or looking at designing the new site to figure out where people are going or those kinds of things. So if you have analytics available, we can certainly take a look at them. And I would certainly suggest, before doing any site, that you certainly look at analytics as well. And also, in addition to that, analytics does also have some information about how fast your site is loading too, so we can look at those factors as well. The next thing that we look at in these site reviews is the SEO for your site. Now, in this, we normally look at the basics of SEO. So these are basically the things on your site that we can control, or whoever designed your site can control. So these are the meta tags, meta description, meta titles, those kinds of things. So to see that, we can look at that right here for any page. We're going to go view page source. This might look like a bunch of technical mumbo jumbo, but here's what we're looking for. So you do have titles specified. You do have keywords, which are not as important, and then you do have the meta description. So those are the key things to have on each page. Now it looks like they definitely could maybe use a little bit of tweaking per se, maybe around the keywords that make sense for you guys. But you do have them, so that is a a positive thing. In any new site that you have, you want to make sure that those are there as well on the important pages. So what ranks in search engines is pages, not websites, meaning this is one page, this is another page. This page could rank on a website. So that's the important thing to know. It's not my website ranks in Google, it's this particular page of my website ranks in Google. So you could actually have different pages ranking for different things within Google. So it's important to know that, so if we look at these, view page source again here, these are your meta tags as well. Here you've got your keywords, your description, and your title up here. So each of those, we want to make sure that each of those are present on all of the pages that make sense. Does it make sense for a contact page to have meta keywords, descriptions, and titles? Not really, because it doesn't matter. Your contact page is likely never going to rank for anything anyway. But for the pages that you do want to rank or have the possibility of ranking, it's important that these meta tags, meta descriptions are included. And they can be different for each of those different pages. They don't have to all be exactly the same. They can have a different description, a different title, and different keywords. Okay. All right, so let's get back here. Okay, we're done talking about the technical underpinnings of the site now. So we tried to keep that fairly basic. If you have any specific questions about any of that, you can certainly let me know, but I don't want to make it too overly complicated for you. So next we're actually just going to talk about the overall operation of your site or of a new site here. So some of the site features to look for, especially in a new site. I know your site doesn't necessarily have all of these, but making sure you do have analytics on the site so you can track the visitors. Analytics don't necessarily give you the people's names and whatnot, but it does give you overall information about how they move about your site, the pages that they're going to, how long they were on the site, the number of people that are hitting your site in any given period, those kinds of things. So analytics are important because it does help you make better decisions moving forward or making updates or changes to the site. One of the next important things for any new siters, for most people, we recommend a content management system. And simply, a content management system manages the content. So basically, after the initial design is done, you can add and update pages without actually having to be a designer or a coder. So they're just a really easy way for people to manage their own sites or have someone else manage it. We really recommend a content management system, and actually we focus on and build our sites exclusively on WordPress. WordPress powers about 25% of the world's websites, so it is very popular. It's a very easy to use system. It's very refined, and there's teams that are constantly updating and working on WordPress. So we think they're a great idea and really recommend them to everybody. In addition to the site, pages itself, the pages that are on the site, you can also have, it does come with the WordPress blog as well. So if you'd like to blog, know that it is there. So you have the ability to add those posts whenever you'd like, or have someone else add the posts. Okay, one of the big differences though between one of those kind of content management systems and a static site, which I think yours is, from what I can tell here, and even if yours isn't, it's the big difference between the older sites from the 90s and the newer sites, of today. The content management systems use what's called a database on the back end that actually handles and stores all of, most of the text from the actual site is stored in the database. In addition to that, there are the files like any other site would have, images and whatnot are not stored in the database directly. They're stored in files, in folders, and then the database accesses those when it's necessary. But along with a database, any kind of database or any application that uses databases requires updates and maintenance. So all of these newer sites do require updates and maintenance. Security is a big issue with everything, so making sure that the site is secure, making sure that it's going to be tried to be hit by hackers, so making sure that the site is secure as possible, that you've got backups in case something happens. Those kinds of things are all very important for websites nowadays. So in addition to optimizing your pages or posts as necessary with the SEO that you can do there, Google also likes to see a sitemap, which basically it's not necessarily seen by your users or visitors to your site, but it is basically a full detailed layout of the site structure and all the pages that your site contains. And that's what Google uses. Google crawls through your index and then references those pages to build its index and its backend for the search results. Okay, now we'll get specific about your site and the goals that you told me. So basically, you told me that you sell and lease commercial property in Southern Maryland, Anne Arundel, and Prince George's. In addition to that, you said you'd like the goal of your site is to provide information and send flyers when requested to potential clients. And then you said, in addition to wanting a sophisticated site that reflects your professionalism and scope of work, you want visitors to be able to have access to flyers and have them sent immediately when they request it, as well as capturing name, email, contact information from them. Which all those I think are fairly standard with most of what most agents or commercial real estate agents want nowadays. So let's kind of go through. So based on that, so those few things there are really. So to boil that down to just a few points that we could check with the site, I would say that they are. Okay, so they are a sleek and modern site capturing contact details and provide information. So if we kind of go through the site with each of those 3 points, sleek and modern, I would say we're not achieving with your site. So I would say your site is failing on that aspect. It does, provide information, but it's definitely not, I would say, sleek and modern. And then, so if we're saying provide information, let me click on one of these pages, for instance, and come here. From a user's point of view, I find that it's kind of rough, especially because we're kind of intermixing the sold and the non-solds. So I feel like from a user's point of view, this could be confusing at some point. Because they don't know. I mean, I know you can keep scrolling, but in some cases they might see a chunk of solds and they're like, oh, it's done. Those are just solds. So now I'm not even all the way on the page yet, but now I'm thinking from the user's point of view that they might be done. They might not go down anymore. So I would say that's a big problem. And definitely with a new site, I would definitely say that we want to make sure that once a property is sold, we have the ability to, remove it out of the featured, unless that is our goal, to make those solds featured. But I definitely would want to kind of separate them in a way that makes sense. So it's not confusing to the user if this property is available or if it's sold. And then the same thing for leasing when we're looking at those. There's definitely chunks here, where you're saying that it's leased and then this one's not. Another couple chunks here where they're leased. So same thing, we're only halfway down the page, but some people, depending on how they're looking at this, could start to think that, oh, the rest of these are leased, I'm done, and then stop and exit the site or go back to a different page. So that's definitely important. You do have some information. You have information on the site, which is fine for these. Then you do have flyers available, so you're moving that. And then as far as capturing contact details, I would say right now it's definitely a fail. You're not capturing contact details of any kind, unless obviously that they're submitting information, but by that point they have to click over to the contact page. So I'm imagining for your new site, I would think you could want something that, depending on how much information or detail people want to look at for a particular property or listing here, they could have to enter their information in to actually register right there. And I know one of the buzzwords for real estate usually is IDX. And we can certainly integrate something, for your new site with an IDX in it. And those kinds of things can include, forced registration. It could even be delayed registration, so they get to look at, a number of properties or certain pieces of information. But if they try to look at other things, that they are asked to register. When we're integrating IDX, we could make it so that new visitors can create an account, which would mean forcing them to register from any, or asking them to register from any IDX listing. So that would be giving you that capture information piece that you're looking for. In addition, though, if they did, once they did that, they could, from any listing or any search page that they're on, they could, mark their favorite listings, save searches, get listing updates, and those kinds of things. So that's what I really think you're looking for and going for, and so that could definitely be done for you. And another point to consider too with these leases and sale pages here, I definitely feel like I would like this better if individual properties were on individual pages. You could certainly have a featured listings or something page for each of these if you'd like, but I would certainly, I think, like better if I was able to see an individual listing or an individual piece of property for sale here on its own page, and then have all of the details about that particular listing on that page, which could certainly include a flyer and all those other items. So those could be hand keyed in or pulled from IDX, either way. And along with that, for the IDX stuff, what you get with that is, the listings would show up on your own website here using your domain. You'd have Google Maps integrated along with that. Custom URL pages and all searches, use Google Maps for displaying listing results. It could be SEO optimized as well. And then custom search URLs would also come with those IDX listings and whatnot. And custom search URLs, if you're not familiar with those for IDX, would just mean things like, it would be to show the 500 newest listings or those kinds of things, show all listings, showing zip codes of listings. They all have those custom URLs to go along with those. And those URLs allow you to do specific filtering or filter down, using different specifications. And then for the details of those IDX pages, they could have photo slideshows, 3D aerial views, full-size photos, Google Map views. They can have social integrations, and there's even sorting options for them. You know, to let people say last updated, newest first, low to high, high to low, home size, lot size, walk score, you know, price drop, those kinds of things. Thanks again for taking time to watch this website review. If you have any other questions, let us know. We'd be happy to help. Talk to you. Bye-bye.